good, man. Just hectic times, busy. I mean, as you can tell, I've been posting a lot of product, shipping a lot of products, dropping a lot of product. It's been a lot, you know what I mean?
Dale Threat.
What up, Zilla?
Yo.
Yeah.
Shablam,
Congrats. Congrats on Sedale Threat. That is it's a rare crew album with no fat on it. That is good stuff.
Hey, we try, man. You know what I mean? We recorded 13 songs, 12 made the record.
Yeah, can't beat it. You can't beat it. Elite crew.
There you go. One of 5 tapes left in the world. That's it.
Nice.
You're gonna be going.
So before we start with the comic book stuff and the TV shows and everything, so I think that's the focus. I just wanted to get a pet peeve out of the way and just give a quick fuck off to all the. There's a music Twitter thing of music reviewers waxing poetic about how bad the new Lizzo album is, and I'm like, honestly, fuck off. Lizzo is not my favorite artist in the world. Not bulletproof. That album's not bulletproof. But it's fucking Lizzo. Relax. She's got a nice voice. Kids lose their mind to it. Just get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Straight up.
2,000 words, shreddings. She's just having fun. Let her live. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
That's my...
I mean, that's the thing, too. Like,
shouts to Lizzo.
These reviewers, it's like, man, just review what you like. And, like, if you don't like it that much, then just don't waste your time fucking reviewing it. You know what I mean? Like, people want to, like, get the hate traffic because the hate fucking... People love to fucking see somebody trash an album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, even back when I used to write album reviews, I usually... if I was forced to write about an album I didn't like, I'd try to say something good, bad, the ugly, you know what I mean? Like, just tell the truth and keep it moving. I wouldn't fucking berate people, you know what I mean? It's just fucking,
Well, and I respect the hustle, right? I mean, people have been asking me, like, would you do this full-time for a living if you could? And I was like, maybe. Like, because I don't want to be forced to write about Kanye anymore, I don't want to, like... Part of the fun part of what I do is I can just choose not to, and it's fine, No,
you need to write about Kendrick. You need to write about Kanye in the moment. You need to write about Drake in the moment, Beyonce in the moment, Lizzo in the moment.
Is there such thing as like a hip hop journalist that actually like makes like a living actually writing? Makes a real living writing?
Yeah.
Like real money.
But you have to write about all those things I said because that's your rent.
Straight
up.
up
to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to Dash Lewis, who was forced to write for money. I don't think he was forced to, but he had to write this full review of the new Kevin Gates album, which was just really bad. And he was like, okay, I'll do a Kevin Gates review. But yeah, people are on the grind, man. I'm just not, I don't have to, so it's cool.
I'm happy I don't even have to listen to either of those albums. I would never think of listening to a Kevin Gates album, a Lizzo album. It's not even on my radar. Like, I didn't know they dropped albums. I didn't even know Kevin Gates was still a thing. Never really checked for him to begin with. I mean, I know who he is, but that's about it.
Yeah, dude.
No, it's out of control, man.
Who's that?
Kevin Gates is Instagram?
Oh, shoot, yeah. That guy is. His social media should be taken away from him, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
He's a Hall of Famer with the social media.
Yeah, Jesse's right.
His social media is better than his music, or what?
Yes.
The story?
Yes.
It's similar.
I guess that's what matters now, right? I guess you want to be famous.
Yep. No, it's so yeah. I was gonna say, let's get into the comic world and the TV shows and all
Kevin Gates cassette dropping on Chong Wizard Records.
Yeah.
Soon.
100 available. That's it.
That's
100
awesome.
for the fans, for the diehards.
Limited Obi strips.
Limited Obi strip.
We need that Kevin Gates Curious group track.
Shouts to Chong with the Planet Asia placement. Beyond
amazing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, joint's crazy.
I love that
stuff.
project too. I think that's
It's really good.
It came out really good. You know what I mean? Shout
yeah.
out to my boy Jordan. He's worked with me on many a projects. That's my homie. Like you let him get involved in a project, he's just gonna make it better. That's what he does. You know what I mean? So shout out to him. He did the whole A&Ring for that thing. He was like, "Here's the beats, Planet Asia. Here's the producers. I'm gonna give you some beats from these producers. You pick which ones of these you like, and then just let's do this album." He did the art direction, picked the artist, you know what I mean?
That art is crazy.
Supposed to come out on my label, but you know what I mean?
Crazy.
It is what it is. Planet Asia was just like, no, like trying to handle it himself. So I didn't care. It was like, whatever. I got so much on my plate at this point. It's just like, it's all good.
Yeah, you got the Kevin Gates cassette, bro. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for Kevin Gates. Kevin Gates on tape.
Oh, Kevin Gates, Chris Crack. Oh, that's inappropriate. That would be that song would be inappropriate.
Vulgar. It's vulgar.
But
Kevin Gates, Chris Crack.
But yeah, I was thinking about it. I really love the Miss Marvel series on Disney Plus. And I think I think it's fair. I know logic points to that. Like it is a little slow. It is not.
It's very slow.
It's a little cutesy. It's a little,
very cutesy.
And I get that.
I just don't think. Well, looking at the three of us, I don't think we were the target audience when I watched it. I just didn't feel like
straight up
that. It
fair.
was like it was made for teenagers and like teenagers of this generation. I've seen some stuff that was for teenagers that I could relate to, like when I was a teenager, but this felt like this is for the new generation stuff that they're dealing with, and that whole vibe of inclusivity and political correctness and all the kind of obstacles that they face now with social media and all that stuff. There was elements I liked of it. I what I liked about it was the graphics, like the cool, like kind of like cut and paste graphic whatever stuff they were doing. They did a lot of crafty, cool production stuff in there.
I agree with that. And it's not as good as Moon Knight. And somebody said, "Bring on She-Hulk." I'm totally with that.
Yes.
Yes, She-Hulk's going to be so fun. I will go wherever Tatiana Maslany goes.
So what did you like about Ms. Marvel the most?
I guess what I really love. Well, there's a couple things, but overall, I love how different it was from every other show they've put on.
True.
Right. I love that all the Marvel shows are different. Right. That there's like Moon Knight is totally different from Loki. Is totally different from Miss Marvel. Is totally different from Hawkeye. And I was thinking about how, like, that was my big beef with those CW DC shows. We were always talking shit. Me and my wife were always talking shit about how if a show goes on the CW, it just becomes a CW show. Like, even if it intended to be something, it just becomes compartmentalized into that box, and they were all the same to me.
They're all filmed the same. They're all filmed in Chong's backyard in Toronto, in his back lot. I mean, in Vancouver.
My alley, the alley in my
your alley. You know,
Green Arrow, the Flash, freaking Supergirl. I remember looking out the window and like filming some Supergirl from my camera phone. Like, there's Supergirl.
What's up, Flowers?
Flowers in the building.
What's up, Richard Theodore?
Love Big Flowers.
Beyond is right. Smelled like summer's eve and teenage regrets. It didn't smell like Teen Spirit though. That was the Batman. That very much smelled like Teen Spirit.
and it was such a weird world, the CW world, that they couldn't transport it to the big screen properties. They were like,
no.
Sorry, there's going to be a different Flash, and there's going to be 3 Supermans, and oh well, you know?
DC just kept failing when it came to TV and movies for the longest. I mean, Batman seems to be about the only thing they can do right.
But answer me this, Chong. Why is DC so much better at animated?
They're incredible.
I don't know. I mean, everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, and that just happens to be their strength. They're actually better at actual comic books right now, as of, I'd say, like the last year or two. They've been killing Marvel in the comic book department.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a minute.
Yeah.
The DC, can you imagine? The DC quarterly meetings have to be tense when they're just like, the TV shows, ass.
Right.
You know, the movies, Mick.
They keep getting
The
made, though.
animated, good job.
It never
They
stops.
must be making money on those TV shows because they look dirt cheap to make, and they're on network television. I guess people just don't care about the quality. They just want to see their favorite characters and watch the shows or whatever. I guess I don't know.
Like even like the Harley Quinn animated joint is wild.
I
started watching Doom Patrol again. I've never finished the first run of it because it just was like way too long. I'm like, I don't need 14 episodes of this show. I need like 6 to 8. But I'm going back to it. I'm like, at least it was like a wild show. Like they didn't stray from how wild the books are.
Danny 140 said something interesting. He said that it's because Marvel aims their animated series at kids. I think that's part of it, but I think they export it to weird places too. Yeah. They don't have a great team. Like, I think there was an Iron Man that was made in France. There was like an Iron Man animated show that was made in France, and it was American voices, and it just was weird. Didn't make sense. They have no consistency with the way these things are made in the animated sphere.
Right. Yeah, and so then for Ms. Marvel though, I thought it was a really good like free-form ABC Family 7:30 on a Saturday night show about the trials and tribulations of a Pakistani family in Jersey City. Like I thought that was so dope. Like their lives, you know, like the brother getting married and like her dealing with the mom and the mom like being on her back, but in public she's like her biggest champion, and then she's like family secrets. Like I thought that was really dope. Like they're in the mosque, and then the cousins running for president of the mosque or to be on the board. Like I thought it was so cool. And then I was like, that could just be a thing. Like that would be a dope show on its own to see. But then it's like the Miss Marvel stuff itself, I was like, it just totally changed everything about her power. Everything was flipped around like how they did with Shang-Chi. Totally fine. But I was just like, that was the letdown for me, was like the actual superhero stuff. Like everything else was cool.
Fair.
The music, the colors, the clothing, the culture. When she was in India and all that, it was crazy. I just felt like the actual superhero side was like really undercooked. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, I totally agree with Zilla there. I liked how it was totally like a girl kind of like learning about her family history and her culture, and kind of like you know, the celebration of that kind of, and the whole family aspect. And it did totally feel like a sitcom, like a family sitcom, kids sitcom, Nickelodeon type thing. TGI Friday. You know what I mean?
TGI Friday.
It was cool though. It just, like I said, I don't think it was aimed for us, but it had cool elements. And I think that actress is just a star. She has so much personality. She was so fun to watch, even though there was times when it just felt like it just felt like a low budget show. And I find that Marvel lately, in general, it feels like they've just been cutting corners because they've got the audience already. They don't have to like break the bank like on everything anymore. And it shows at times, you know what I mean? They get away with it, but there's still times when it's just like, I can tell, but it was what it was. I think they did a good job with the show, regardless of if I liked it or not.
Yeah. Shout out to Love Ulysses popped in. I think Love Ulysses is going to release the silliest rap album of the year. I think there's a distinct possibility that will happen.
Beyonce's dropping gems. Mighty Healthy in the Mix.
Beyonce
dropping wild gems. I'm like
Zilla
very
was
nervous.
Just telling me that Zilla was just telling me this Love Ulysses guy needs to be on the next Midnight Sun, so I might have to get hip. I'm not
tap all the way in.
Music. I got tap
so
in.
Fun. So fun. And you might be right, Zilla. I guess I just loved being with the family. I loved being in those situations. And it was such a unique family. It was such a cool, because I'll be honest, maybe I'm a little tired of the Pixar families, the overbearing Pixar families. That are just
that was a great snapshot of like in Canada, especially in Vancouver, it's so multicultural. That is so accurate of the family depiction of like the parents that had to like risk everything to come to North America to start up to go for a better life, and then what their kids, you know, the battles with their parents as the kids grow up in North American life, and it's real. Like my wife's parents from the Philippines, they brought her here when she was like 3, and so she definitely, like, I see like the parallels from like her life and her stories of her childhood matched in with that. Different cultures,
That's
obviously,
fire.
but like definitely similar. You know, that's a lot. I could see a lot of families relating to that story, and I think they did a great job on that angle for sure.
And I think my favorite performance in the show is the mother. I think the mother is excellent. Yeah,
she was kind of like the dad. The dad was dope too. He was just so like supportive and everything.
He was so cool, man.
Yep.
And and then the uncle too, who was like the leader at the mosque. He was dope. I like that.
Yeah, that's true. No,
one
that's
thing
true.
I mean, I might not have been paying enough attention to the story the whole way through, but it felt like they were like introducing some new characters and then like killing them off in the same episode. And it was like, who was that? Like, they weren't important, and then it was like, because it was 6. Was it 6 episodes?
Yeah,
or
I think
it
that's what I'm
6,
saying.
right?
Like it felt like
6, and they rushed through this.
Right. It was like, to me, it was like 70% was the family, the culture, Jersey City, U.S. culture shit. Like there was so much of that, which was dope. And then everything else is like, oh shit, we have to like put them in, over. We got to have them fight someone from another dimension. Oh, and then one guy's got a sword and like he's dead. And then she travels through time. It was like really, really rushed.
It's like these guys are here all of a sudden out of nowhere to protect her. Like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
And then there's like dudes with
like
swords.
What secret cult they're from or whatever.
Oh, and then at the very end, I don't want to spoil for everybody, but at the very, very end, when homeboy just is kind of like, oh yeah, your genetics are different. I'm like, what? You're gonna now like put this in here too? She's now a part of that group? I'm like, huh? What?
Yeah, no,
and then,
you're right.
And then
they spent a lot of good time.
The end credit scene too, with like Captain Marvel just all of a sudden, like, how just they switched places or what happened?
Yeah,
that was confusing.
Yeah, that happens. I think that happens in the books where like they'll just switch places or something.
I never read the books, so
yeah, Ms. Marvel's dope. You know what I mean? But it's like I don't know. I just thought it was like so odd because she's gonna be in the Marvels thing going forward, and potentially like the Young Avengers or whatever they're gonna do for the next team. So like they needed to give you a lot of her background. She's not gonna get a solo movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just feel like it was a little rushed, like you said.
I think you're right, Zil. If they want to keep that going, they're like, you can't just keep establishing characters over and over again. Right. You have to move from establishing characters to action, right? Action sequences, action-based storylines, and they're going to have to get a hold of it because those action scenes were not it. And yeah, they didn't develop a good villain. They didn't really do a lot of that.
No.
See you, Danny. Art by Danny. Shout out to Art by Danny, man. He's killing the covers right now. He's been doing those AJ Slade covers. He's killing it.
Yo, Shasta Cabbage, Shasta Gary, Cooley Cowway.
Yeah.
Yo, Netflix is kind of buns. Like, I got too many people using my Netflix login. I would have canceled it a while back. I don't want people to get all salty. But yeah, they're hurt.
You got too many people.
Let's move on. Let's move on from Miss Marvel. I think we covered enough ground here. Let's jump into the boys. The boys on.
Let's jump into the boys.
Yeah.
That shit was fucking ridiculous, man. What the fuck, man? What a season. That might have been the best season they've done yet, man. Like,
easily.
Soldier Boy, that guy was fucking wild, dude. Like that actor and that character was just so ridiculous. It was just like, oh my god, like, and fucking obviously Homelander was just taking it to a whole new level on this season, like on some evil Trump shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
they leaned into that hard. They
leaned into my god, they did.
His supporters.
That was a good season.
Yeah, him going on like the networks. You know what I mean? Like changing the narrative. Like, oh, she's unstable. You know, like they're hitting like whataboutisms everywhere with Starlight. Oh my god, yo, it was dope this year because it wasn't as much of like the gory, wild, irreverent parts of the first 2 seasons. It was more like, okay, like now this is on the table. Crazy things can happen. Sure. It's more like, how do we actually stop this stuff? What do we do?
Right.
It's like, do we give up our own integrity and become what we hate to beat them? Do we beat them from the inside? Do we destroy them in the media? Do we get the public again? Like, how do we stop these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. It was good, man. Like, I'm glad they because I don't like the shock gore stuff. I think it's kind of corny, and I was worried about that first episode with the whole like Ant-Man exploding.
Oh my God, that was
shit.
horrible.
I was just
like,
I was almost ready to just stop watching the show, and then
right.
I'm glad I stuck around because the comedy, like some of the satire and the comedy they pull off in that show is just so good. Like the Deep and A-Train, like some of that stuff this season, just so ridiculous. Like A-Train and them getting just like straight clowned on by Homelander. Like,
oh my God,
oh man, like
dude, anything with the Deep, like. I got a hard limit, man. I can't with the Deep, bro. It's
You can't do the Deep?
much.
Yeah.
It's always,
What about the new A-Train costume? Do you remember the new?
Man,
how'd you feel about the
love
Oh
how,
my
like,
God, it was
they
so bad.
I just love how they flipped, like he was trying to flip wokeness because he couldn't run anymore to be like, oh, I'm all about like my self-actualization as a black man in this country, and like they're all rolling their eyes and they're like, all right, but we can like use this, almost like that like Kylie Jenner like Pepsi ad. You know what I mean? Like they were trying to co-opt him, like crossing dividing lines with that crazy dude that was like hurting black people and all, like that blew up in their face. Like that it was just so good because it was just making fun of what all those corporations were doing during Trump. Like, like
Exactly,
Tide
yeah.
is the official like resistance detergent. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
Pepsi is the official
right.
resistance beverage and all this. It's ridiculous, man. So,
Crazy.
Peace broken.
Twitter.
I see you, machine broken. Enjoy that show, man. I'm
Ooh,
jealous. I wish
enjoy
I
that.
could go to that. That's
Look at
gonna be
that.
Chris
fire,
Pratt,
man.
whatever is nice.
Yeah.
Get some footage of that shit. Post that.
Totally. Post the no, but it's that there's some incredible performances. Homelander's performance is legitimately like, I don't think he's ever going to get any kind of Emmy nomination,
Oh man, he's incredible.
but he
my
kind
God.
of should, right? Like,
Yeah.
That might be the
He's-
greatest. That might be the greatest villain they've ever made on any superhero show. Like he's
Facts.
just so like devious. Like it's
Oh,
so twisted. And it's just like it's awesome watching him. Like that part where he fucking kills that dude just in front of everyone, and like he's like worried for half a second, like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. And then they start cheering, and he's like, yeah, like all right, fuck yeah, like that shit was like the best part of the show, man. That shit was just like, oh man.
and then him with the kid, with his son, like embracing him.
Mhm.
Oh man, I was like, this is dark now.
it's dark.
And Butcher, man, Butcher was just losing his shit on that season. Like he's fucking hilarious. That guy,
Yeah,
man.
he. You know what? I was kind of like glad they kind of put him on a bench a little bit. Like they gave more
Yeah.
space to like Mother's Milk and to Huey. I feel like Frenchie and Homegirl, they were a little boring this year. Like I found myself just fast forwarding their scenes. I'm like, all right, you guys are just in love and you're waiting to get out of this. Okay.
But it didn't feel like they really knew what to do with them.
Yeah, there was just that was a little.
I mean, you could feel the love, and they were trying to add that dimension to the show. It was cool, but at the same time, it was kind of boring and just kind of dragged on a bit. Huey's kind of I don't know if it's just the actor or whatever, but he always just kind of annoys me. But it was pretty funny that he got that superpower where he would just like he would teleport, but he'd be naked. The show was ridiculous, man. It was a good concept. It was good.
Yo,
But I think Huey is supposed to be annoying. I think Garth Ennis usually plant the character that's annoying in the mix, so he can humiliate him a little bit.
Correct. And then Danny's like, do you think the ending was grim? I think it was ill because it shows how like what's it called, Vought or Vought?
Yeah, Vought. Yeah.
It reminds me of like how they're just too big to fail. So that like corporations like that in real life, like Lehman Brothers or even like Disney, like no matter what happens, they're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Even Netflix now, like we're talking shit about Netflix, their stock is in the toilet, but like they have Stranger Things, like they're not going away.
Yeah, Stranger Things.
10 years, they're good. You know what I mean? Like they still have 500 million subscribers around the world, even though they're losing them. But I'm like,
Right.
Amazon, like it's just too big to lose. So I felt like that was the moral to me of that season of like, okay, she flipped on Giancarlo, the daughter flipped on him. She's linked up with Homelander, and then all the boys get the steroids, whatever it's called, the V12 shot, and then Soldier Boy. But it's like ultimately like that can't ever really crumble. It's just gonna like shift around to having something else be in its place. I don't know. It's like Hydra.
It's
like Carl's
and they're like spinning on, and they're totally like the news, the way they've controlled the media and spin the news, right?
And I'll tell you, this may be the Esposito who plays the Vought owner.
Yeah.
Right.
That dude is apparently in consideration for the Professor X.
Professor X, yeah.
Yeah, but see, I saw that. Like, I love Giancarlo. I watched, Better Call Saul. But he's just he's old. Yeah, and I guess
he's old. He almost seems too villainous. Like, I've never seen him not play like such a shady businessman.
Oh, I would love
Professor. I don't think Professor X has ever really like been shady. He always seems like such a like.
Well, he's shady. He's
shady definitely been
3-4 years in the Hickman run, the Hickman era. He's very shady.
Well,
and they don't trust him. A lot of mutants don't.
Do you
trust
remember?
Him. Don't bang with him.
Hickman's fucking. That's a good twist, Hickman.
Yeah.
Zilla, do you remember Onslaught?
Do that shit.
Who was it?
Do you remember Onslaught from the 90s X-Men shit? When they were like, he was like the evil id of Professor X, and he was like, I want to bone Jean Grey and shit. He was like, oh, weird.
Yeah, he was. It's like, but even like, like Legion, he's never banged with Professor X. He's always like, you're a shitty dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, always from the jump. He's like, you're a shitty dad. You always try to tell people what they should do, that you know best. Who the fuck are you? And now, like, it's revealed in the books now with the Way of X and all that, where he's like, all right, Dad, go have your little fucking island. We're starting, like, a real religion and society over here, our way. You're not going to tell us shit. Legion's a libertarian. You know what I mean? It's like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, no. I think that,
Professor X is a real fascist. He's a fascist. You know what I mean?
He's I would love Esposito as Professor X. I think that would be awesome.
I just think he's... I always say, like, my only trepidation is I just think he's, like... It's like I thought James McAvoy was ill because he was young, and then you could go places with that. What's up, Block? Yeah. I thought he was dope.
Legendary
have him go a lot of different ways. Whereas I feel like Giancarlo, like you can only go one way with that. Because I watched him on Better Call Saul. They try to de-age him, and it doesn't. He's got the big grandpa gut because it's been 12 years since Breaking Bad. You know what I mean? Like a kid.
No, I think if Esposito gets it, Esposito will play Professor X like Obama.
He'll be amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't doubt him.
He'll play him like Obama.
Yeah, like from all the Spike Lee movies he's done and all the tons of shows he's been on, he's been great. I don't know.
Zilla's right though. Like nowadays, they really have to cast young because
it sucks. Yeah.
Oh, you're
reality there.
You know what I mean? Like, so,
right.
I mean, I think they've made that mistake before, and then they're like, oh shit, man, this guy looks old as hell. Like, decade
Don
into
Cheadle's
it.
like 50. Don Cheadle's like 56 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, god damn, like, bro, his next decade's 60, and he was War Machine for like 6 years.
Right.
Yo, I love that.
I'd be fine if they just got rid of him. Like, I don't need to see War Machine in anything.
No,
he just seems like such a useless character. Like, just
no, he's not. Yeah, he's cool.
Just fucking leave him out of the MCU. Just say he retired.
Exactly.
Iron Man's got a lot of storylines that were just butt cheeks, just bad.
Yeah,
bad news.
He'll pop up in he'll just pop up in a scene like to give like words of wisdom, and he just drives off in the Audi, and he's gone. That's it. Be a sponsor.
I'm friends with Cody. Cody's my friend. Goodbye. You know.
Hey, I gotta make a call real quick. If somebody keeps calling me, I'll jump back in like 5 minutes.
We'll be here. But no, it's been interesting to because the Marvel series are all different, but they're all different like the books, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The Hawkeye book was a hang, and the show was a hang, and that made sense.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like,
I hope She-Hulk's a hang.
Totally. I hope it's like it, but they the She-Hulk is very important to me because that run by Charles Soule is pretty unbelievable.
Amazing.
That guy's a real lawyer and like used real lawyer shit in there.
Right.
Right. And so they need to really do that. They need to really do real court scenes and like they need to make that a thing.
Right. And like her like struggling to not rip out the seams because it's gonna mess up her new, power suit she just bought. It's gonna be like her mad at herself.
Yep.
Some
They need
griff,
that
some
shit.
panels. Yeah.
Griff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think.
What are you gonna say?
Go ahead.
No, yeah, I think The Boys was so crazy, and I think Ms. Marvel was kind of like thumbs downish. But then where they could go with these things, like for The Boys moving forward, it's like a lot of wild things that can happen, which is great. Same thing with even Ms. Marvel, like what they're planting seeds with her in the next few years, you can go all over the place and plug her into a lot of spots from like the Young Avengers stuff to like a big event to the Marvels. It's just cool that people were like interchangeable. And, from like the Doctor Strange movie and Moon Knight, you could really start doing like Midnight Sun stuff with the occult. You know what I mean? Like that's all everything is on the table for them to pick and choose whatever they want to do. And I just saw like the new Thor movie, which I did a Patreon post on for Call Culture, where like even that you can. I've been like studying up on like the Celestials again. You know what I mean? After I saw that movie,
Oh
where I was like,
yeah, okay.
you could get
That's
deep
awesome.
with the Celestials, and then you can go there with the Celestials, and then potentially Loki or Guardians, like space shit. You know what I mean? Like Eternals,
Yep.
which wasn't even good, but like Eternals opens the door for like bigger space entities that, like, how many more, devious, self-righteous.
Yeah. No, it's you. Are you? Yeah. No, it's wild and like there's a lot of options out there. I think it's cool that like so the part of comics that The Boys comes from is kind of because I remember. Do you remember the Invincible cartoon show?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so wild.
And I remember people being like, "Oh man, Invincible really stole the thunder from The Boys." I'm like, "Nah, man, all this shit was being done at the same time."
Right.
And like, there were a bunch of independent comics where they were like, "You know what? I'm going to tell you what Superman really would be like."
Mm-hmm.
And everybody had their own. Mark Waid had his own shit version of that, and like, everybody had their own version.
Yo,
So
Hip Hop's
yeah.
Alive FM. See, I don't think the new Thor is whack. I would just say Ragnarok to me is the mountaintop of what the best kind of MCU movies are. So like literally anything they make after that, like you can't surpass it. So if you're a big
Okay.
Ragnarok fan like me, and I said on the Patreon for Call Out Culture, never a big Thor person ever in my life beyond just thinking the hammer was cool when I was a kid. Like Ragnarok really blew my mind, and it's probably my most watched like solo hero MCU movie. So like this one, just everything's different. Obviously, there's more that they need to continue on, but it just can't ever surpass that. But there's really really funny wild shit in Thor: Love and Thunder. You know what I mean? Like there is really great parts to it, and there's some fun action sequences. But yeah,
So
it's
Zilla
Chubb.
is so
Sorry,
so
guys. I'm sorry
My
about
so
bad.
that.
Zilla is Ragnarok Cuban links, and this movie is a mobilarity. Is that what the?
I would never disrespect any Thor movie compared to Mobilarity. That's the worst. That's the worst follow-up album of all time. The worst follow-up ever made.
Oh God.
No, Mobilarity would be like Dark World or something, where like you just don't even want to think about it or talk about it. Like that's like going backwards or something. No, I
Mhm.
would think like Love and Thunder is kind of like, I'm trying to think of big album. I'm being big albums where like the next one was like pretty good, but not as good as the Earth Shattering thing. It to me, it's almost like Damn off of Good Kid, Mad City. Like Good Kid was like this huge sprawling thing and this concept, and it was so big and crossover. Whereas Damn is like, yo, here's just like banging songs, which
Right.
I love for that. You know what I mean? But certain people, it's like it didn't have the weight of Good Kid. And then on To Pimp a Butterfly, he kind of went back to that on a new one he did. So it's kind of like that to me. It's not. It doesn't live up to this ballyhooed breakthrough moment, but it's still pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? It's like dope. All right, I'm in.
I remember you saying something like this about a Billy Woods album. Maybe it was Dour Candy, that you were like, I love Dour Candy because he got back to work. He had just
Yeah,
released The History Absolves Me, big
right.
opus, and you were like,
Yeah,
he got back to work. You know, he did, and those are fun albums, and I think maybe the movie equivalent of that is a real thing too.
yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good way to say it. Yeah, it's like it's not. It's aware of what it accomplished, and it's not be like, all right, we got to go bigger, we got to go crazier.
Mhm.
It's like,
I, I
you know,
I
go
don't
ahead,
know what
Savior.
Zilla had to say about the movie. I missed out, but I mean,
Oh shit.
my take on it was just like Ragnarok was such a success that they're like, okay, Taika, you can just do whatever you want. We trust you. You're in charge. You're the man. We love you. And he's like, I'm gonna just do whatever the fuck I want. Like this is gonna be ridiculous. Like, and then he just went straight silly with it. Like it was
Beautiful.
like a It was like a goofy comedy. Like I think he didn't really care about like really the 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 action or the like drama of it. It was more focused on the silliness of it. But I mean, that's him. I mean, I think two of those New Zealanders too, like that's their brand of humor. Like if you've watched like some of his other stuff like that, I don't know, he has that new pirate show. And
Right.
Our Flag
I'll,
Means Dead.
yeah.
And I thought like he was pretty much in the same bag on that show as he was on the new Thor. So if you liked that show, then you might like the new Thor. But I think a lot of like the typical fans would kind of just be annoyed because it wasn't like the formulaic Marvel movie. The stakes didn't ever really feel that high, even though there was the bad guy Gore. But he even from the beginning, it just felt like yeah,
Peace.
he did
Wait, so yeah, I mean, I would say to like, and this is why I don't have any concerns about going to see it because I think I'm more of a fan of Taika than I am the MCU.
Mhm.
I love Taika. I think Taika is the best. Uh, and so if it's just a goofy Taika movie, I love goofy Taika movies. I'm good.
It was. It's still. I mean, there were still things I didn't love about it because it felt kind of just. It felt a little jumbled and kind of like almost too lackadaisical in some aspects of it. But I mean, it's hilarious and fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that's what you get from Taika. It was that goofy New Zealand humor. So I mean,
I love it. I
yeah,
can't wait.
it was
Still
entertaining.
waiting
You know,
on Beta
I
Ray
just
Bill, bro.
I just think that like people wanted it to be way more serious and action packed, and it was fun, man. It was fun and goofy. One thing I really liked that I haven't seen anybody really talk about is I don't know if I swear like they kept switching like Thor's outfits. Like he must have had like so many different outfits and like costumes in that one.
Yeah,
Like just like his armor changed
they were fire.
constantly, and like he
They
had
were
this
fire.
ill helmet a few times. Like it was some
Yeah.
crazy ass helmet. Like
He had the Thunderstrike joint on in the beginning
yeah, and
with the ponytail
yeah,
and the jeans. Oh, that was
yeah.
dope.
That I thought that was the Kurt Russell look. The what was that one called again? Big
Big
Trouble in
Trouble in
Little
Little
China
China.
look. That was the Kurt Russell look.
Yeah,
I thought he
it
was
was all
rocking at one
80s.
point.
And
Yeah,
then he had the trucker hat like Vince D'Onofrio when he played Thor and fucking Adventures in Babysitting and shit. Like
yeah.
that was all from that.
Does
Oh
anybody
shit! I
remember?
didn't even put those two and two together. But yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that now. It's been a long time. Fucking
Does anybody
Adventures in
remember?
Babysitting. I forgot about that.
Does anybody remember when, like, in the comic books, they made Thor into like a frog or some shit? They didn't they?
Yeah, he's that little helmet on him. That was
I like
ridiculous.
it.
They did that in the Loki. They showed the Thor frog in the Loki TV series, and
Oh
it was just like
man,
it's just like underground in like a jar or something like that when he's
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that
yeah,
like
yeah.
that Loki world at the end of time or whatever all those Lokis are.
I want them to let Taika do a full frog Thor movie.
Oh, that would
I
be
think he
cool.
could fucking pull it off too.
He
Oh
could.
man,
Oh
that'd
wait,
be
yo,
sick.
Hip Hop's Alive FM said Daredevil or Punisher Marvel TV. Yo, here's my issue with the Punisher show. Ready? The First of all the Netflix joints, like they all had to be like the sacrificial lambs
Yeah,
to make all these banging Disney shows. Because
100%.
Netflix at the time was like, we just need to get these properties. And like, how many episodes you want? Fucking 12, 14. Let's just do it. And I'm like, you can't get 14 hours out of Iron Fist and Daredevil and all these fucking characters. But in the Punisher one, it was even more exacerbated because it's like, all the Punisher books are like, he's going to kill this person. Here's how he's going to do it. This thing goes wrong. He finds a way around it. He kills this motherfucker, right?
Yep.
You can't do 14 hours of him just like murking people. But what ended up happening was it's like, okay, he's like in a therapy thing for vets. And every episode, they were like, Frank, are you sure your family would want to see you do this now? I know your wife's dead, but are you sure you want to kill this guy? He's like, fuck yeah, I want to fucking kill him. Yeah, but what about your kids, Frank? That was every episode. I was like, oh my God, I get it. His whole family's fucking dead, man. I get it. But they had to like soften him a little bit because otherwise you're just watching a nihilist psychopath for 14 hours.
I gotta
Right.
go. Yeah, I gotta go with Daredevil. Like, I think the first 2 seasons of Daredevil were really good, and then it was everything after that. I feel like after the second season of Daredevil, the rest of the shows kind of just all went downhill.
Well, what, yo, Tom, but I was saying this to Cash the other day. Why did they just never want to see this motherfucker in the uniform?
Oh, Daredevil?
In the costume. They kept like, they gave you a little bit of it at the end of the first season. Then the second season, he's dealing with Punisher. And then, like, in the Defenders and all that, they're like, he's wearing, like, the Van Damme kickboxer, like, rope with, like, like sheets around his fists and, like, a Under Armour shirt with a rag. And I'm like, just let him wear. His most distinguishing thing is he wears all red and his eyes are covered.
Right.
And they were like, no, we're going to give you, like, a little bit. We'll give you 2 hours of the costume. 50 hours of the show, 2 hours in the wrong costume.
Yeah.
Drove
I mean,
over the wall.
I would say my answer to the question would be that the first 5 episodes of that season where Daredevil meets Punisher is the best.
That was incredible.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That first 5 episodes is untouchable, where those 2 actors just got to go off on each other. It was just beautiful. It was pretty
Yeah, that first fight scene for sure was them like, oof, yeah.
Yeah.
And even like
And
Charlie Cox, he was ill. Him popping up in Spider-Man, I was like, okay, let Feige get his hands on this dude.
I love Bernthal. I mean, he's a great actor, but yeah,
He's awesome.
It was hard. Like Azilla said, it's hard. Punisher's a tough character. You know what I mean? Like, how many people can he kill for how many episodes in a row? The PTSD angle,
Like,
you know.
I love it because I love.
They almost would have been better off doing like flashbacks to him in like the army and shit.
like
I don't
Punisher
know
War
if they
Journal.
did that.
Yeah, like the War Journal.
Yeah, yeah,
just episodes of him, in Kuwait.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved it because I was like, holy shit! Like, veterans with PTSD are on TV now. There's like, what is going? It was like, it was wild to see stories where people are just like sitting around talking about how the government fucked them over and they're wounded veterans. I'm like, yo, like my buddy's mom used to do this shit. Like, used to, help veterans get full payouts. Like, crazy. Like, it was just wild to see that. Like, as a veteran, veterans are nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, they're just nowhere. They're not discussed. They're not a thing. So
true.
it was kind of cool to have that.
Yeah, me and Casper too were just talking about Luke Cage the other day, where we were like, yo, the first
Ooh.
like 5-6 episodes of Luke Cage were crazy.
What a drop off.
You had like all the Wu-Tang music and then the Gangstar song titles, and then they were like, Marshall Ali, this guy's the most charismatic dude, won an Oscar. Let's just kill him. Let's just kill him after 5-6 episodes. I'm like,
crazy.
How do you kill this dude?
I don't get that shit at all.
Killed him off. I was like,
I don't get
oh my god. Yeah, it was a mess.
Sacrificial shows in the sense that, like, those shows were all 13 episodes, and you can see the Disney Plus shit. Those are 6, 7, 8 episodes.
30
They are
minutes.
not 13 because all those shows would have hit a dead spot in the middle where they just didn't know what people should be doing.
Right. Even like
Yeah,
in all of
there's way too much filler on those 13 episode joints.
Even like in the Jessica Jones joints, like Hogarth, I loved her, but they had to like give her a whole story to fill out 14 hours. I'm like, all right, enough with the Hogarth stuff, man. Fucking
No, I'm
Foggy,
with
Foggy Nelson and Karen out on their own.
Foggy's
Like it's
killing.
just like
Foggy.
shit.
even Ben Urich in the first season, I was like, all right,
Yeah.
Ben's my man, but like I don't need a whole thing. I don't need to see what he's doing on his spare time. I don't care about Ben Urich before he got
Right.
slammed up. He got
No,
killed.
no, it was wild. And yeah. Oh, by the way, I love this season of Umbrella Academy.
See, yeah, I'm only like 3 episodes in.
I love it.
On it.
I would just say in general, who's the guy who writes that book? It's
Gerald Way.
Homeboy.
Gerald
Yes.
Way. Yep, Gerald Way. Gerald Way, I'm kind of on the fence about his books. He's great at plot. He's great at like plotting out a world. He's real slick. He always picks great artists.
He does.
But there's just something missing in terms of punch or surprise. It's like, but this show really energizes that. It's almost like, that guy who did you remember Wanted? You remember that show Wanted?
Yeah.
That movie. Who was the comic book guy that wrote that?
Was that Mark
Millar?
Millar. Like, I hate Millar's comics, but I love the movies they make of them.
That's a good point.
Kingsman was good.
Kingsman was all that. The first.
I can see Gerard Way being that way for me because he's got so much shit, and a lot of it is really interesting, but it's just kind of a step slow for me. But I can see it totally being.
You know what he's good at though, dude? Because I just read his Doom Patrol run, and I think this is what works for Umbrella Academy, at least on the show. He's really good at doing like the group of outsiders or the big family with a lot of personalities. Like he's good at getting a lot of unconventional people in rooms and having them figure things out to where like if they would make, I'm sure down the line they'll do, once they start introducing the mutants and X-Men, they'll do like, X-Force or New Mutants or X-Statics. He would be a good dude to be in charge of one of them rather than just be like, why do humans hate us? Is it because we're different? Is it because they fear us? Like, we're past that. Let's just be like, this dude chews food really loud. She farts when she sleeps. This one's got a big ego. That one's a borderline drunk. Let's put them in a room. You know what I mean? And just deal with them.
I'm with you.
On top of having wild powers.
That really makes sense, just in the sense that like he can create like a Breakfast Club style atmosphere.
Right.
Where you're so into these different characters and what they do, and that Umbrella Academy is such a good showcase for that.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my wife. My wife kept telling me to watch it. I kept being like, "Fuck this shit, fuck this shit," and she sold me, so it was good.
Fuck this shit. That's me.
Yeah, that Gerald Way guy, I think you guys both nailed it too. Like, I haven't read tons of his stuff, but he's really good at the group stuff and also just having a style of really stylistic, like, vibe. Like, I read that recent Killjoys thing that he did, and the art and the whole direction and the vibe of the whole thing just felt so, like, it felt like a fucking punk rock song that was, like, pushing the fucking speed limit of the story, like, nonstop, like the whole way through the book, and it was just like intense fucking group of people of outcasts, like you guys said. It's this thing, the group of outcasts and the weird stuff that's real life that you don't, for modern times real life, like groups of people that you don't see like represented like in the old timey comic books. So he's definitely good at that, and I think Umbrella Academy is definitely a good showcase of that. I never read the comics, which I should probably go and read those, but the show's been great. Like the first 2 seasons were amazing, and the 3rd season, I don't want to spoil anything for Zilla, but yeah, it gets better as it goes. Like it started off, I wasn't sure. Like I was like, all right, where are they going? And it took a long time, but by the time you get to the end, the finale was really good. The last 2 or 3 episodes of the season were really good. It all came together, and just love Klaus. I swear Klaus really just took the star of the show in this season. Like Klaus, he outshined everybody. Like he was just so brilliant in this one, man. Like I used to really like number 5, but I think he tapered off a little bit in this season. He was kind of just there, you know what I mean? Like a lot of them were just there, and I swear Klaus really, like when he had his moments, he really shined. Diego was good too. Diego with his
with the
son or
son.
whatever.
The
Yeah.
son, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
that was entertaining. It was a good they had a good dynamic going there.
Yeah, I was to Zilla's point about Gerard Way. The thing I can say is you'll never buy a Gerard Way book and be bored by it. That's not a thing, right?
Yeah.
And the show carries that momentum. There's like a John Woo momentum where like a John Woo movie, every 5 minutes something crazy happens. That's like the rule.
Right.
You've got 5 minutes to build character shit because something crazy is about to happen.
Good point.
And like that's Umbrella Academy. It's always moving at a really fast pace. So that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, fucks with it. I just started buying some books up again because I've been like chilling on comics, paying for adult stuff. But I'm like, yo, it's after seeing Thor and watching all these shows and getting back to reading books, man. I'm like, yo, this is it's never gonna. I just think we're in a dope space and culture where it's like there's so many ways to get this stuff now. You know what I mean? So like when I wasn't buying books from it, I'm like, all right, I'll watch The Boys. I'll watch Ms. Marvel. You know what I mean? I'll watch Moon Knight.
Right.
I'll go see Thor. Dope. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna chill with all those shows. I'm gonna go back to reading it for a while. Cool. It's like, and then we could have these discussions and think about, where things could go or how cool they are. It's just like this is like what we dreamed of when we were kids because all we had was like going to the comic book store and maybe a movie every 3 years.
And do you know why? It's exactly what we dreamed about as kids because when we were kids, the movies they made of the comic books didn't have anything to fucking do with the books.
True.
Right? Tim Burton gets a lot of blame for that. But Richard Donner Superman, he just did whatever the fuck he wanted, and like all of because nobody cared what comic book people thought. They were just like, fuck you,
Yo, I'll tell you what. I remember when I went to the theater to go see Blade with a bunch of my friends, and I knew Blade like vaguely from the books, very vaguely. He was never like a main thing I was reading. I was never in the horror books. And when we walked out of that theater, and everyone at that theater was like amped up, like, oh my god, this shit was incredible. And I was like, all right, like we got something here. This is dope. And then a year or two later, X-Men came out. People were like really excited about X-Men. You know what I mean? It's like shoplifting Punishers from 7-Eleven. Yeah, like even the Punisher, like Dolph Lundgren movie, I remember like being amped to see it, at the Blockbuster where he doesn't wear the logo. You know what I mean? But like, if you would have put out the Punisher movie in like 2001, people would have been like, oh, when it came out with the Thomas Jane one, that was corny. But like,
Thomas
even back
Jane
then, we
was
were like,
so
all right,
bad. It was just such
that
bad
was the
casting.
worst, bro.
The one after that, I can't remember who the no-name guy was after Thomas Jane, but even that one was way better. I can't remember what that one was.
Warzone.
He was a step up, yeah.
He was in I just saw him in a movie recently. I'm like, oh, that was a dude that played fucking Punisher. He's like really old now. But yeah, it's like,
I was gonna say I was thinking about the Punisher today. This is a weird take, but I think the most important creator in the history of the Punisher is Steve Dillon. Steve Dillon is the illustrator for the Garth Ennis run, for the Jason Aaron run, for all those dudes. And like his version of that Punisher is what it just brought the character to another level and got him, all that acknowledgement. He drew the Punisher punching the polar bear during the Garth Ennis run. You know what I mean? You remember that shit? When he knocked out the fucking polar bear?
Like, I'm weird because, like, the Punisher Garth Ennis stuff is, like, not my favorite. And I know it's a controversial thing and everyone loves it. But to me, it's, like, a little too, like, wearing, like a leather duster when it's 100 degrees out. You know what I mean? It's, like, a little too much. Like, I'm a fucking badass. You know what I mean? And so, I get it at the time. They wanted to flex like that with him. But when I go back to them, I'm like, this is kind of fucking silly. You know, when I read it now, I'm like, ugh. To me, it hasn't aged well.
Yeah.
I haven't read a lot of the old stuff. Some of the newer ones from the last few years where they were like, just like him, I think, like in Vietnam or something, and
they're so dope.
And those were pretty good. They were just 6-issue miniseries.
Yeah.
They were really good.
There's one where he goes to LA.
And there's one where there's like some Russian guy and he has to help him like get like revenge or something. It was pretty good.
Dude, the one where he gets the War Machine suit and he starts fucking people up. Oh my god, that shit is the best, man.
I haven't been reading comics, but I'm reading this book right now. It's fucking huge, but it's very dope sci-fi. Some new shit, fucking.
That's dope. That looks dope.
It's fucking huge. Thick though. It's big. Jesus. I'm like maybe like a quarter into it. It's like 1,000 pages.
Did Jonathan Hickman write that novel? God damn.
It's ridiculous, man.
What's it called?
But it's called XX. It's by this guy Ryan Hughes. I think he's like a graphic designer, and it really like has a designy kind of feel to it. But like it's interesting because it's one of those new sci-fi books that actually has some new concepts. Where like a lot of times when you read old sci-fi, it's like they were talking about stuff that's actually exists now, and like all of those tropes have been like reused in movies so many times that, like you never see anything original. This one's been good, like just as far as for original like new sci-fi concepts, it's been good.
Nice. That's dope.
I just finished a book like an hour ago. I gotta find the book.
Fucking
it was a Philip Marlowe book. It's a brand new.
You guys seen those new Tom King announcements? Like Tom King's Gotham Year One looks really good. It's like straight noir, like 60 years in the past of Gotham. Like it's when like Bruce Wayne's a kid or something like that.
Yo, I've been going back to some of his Batman and Catwoman joints.
Yeah.
From like a year or two ago. I was like sitting there like blown away.
Man, I gotta read those,
man. Oh my god.
I dodged those.
No, there's one issue where Bruce and Selena and Lois Lane and Clark go on a double date to like a country fair.
That shit is classic.
Bro, that is like one of the best pieces of writing I've ever read in my life.
It's unfucking believable.
Yes, now I feel like I'm missing out.
Yo,
that whole arc
read like 3 times. I was like, yo, it's like taking 2 characters that are, combined 200 years old with 70 billion pages written about them in shows and movies and doing like something so pure and simple. I was like, the CW can't do this. You know what I mean? Like, and they're in the business to make sappy horseshit, and they can't do this. You know what I mean? It's a fucking mess.
That's why I even said Tom King. Like, man, that motherfucker is like literally the best right now. Like, that's what I haven't been reading very much comics, but when they announced his 2 new things coming out, I'm just like, oh man, I'm in. Like the Riddler one, and
that's crazy. Yeah, but I'm gonna hop off, guys. I get my limits.
I would say Lemire is on that as well.
Lemire.
What's Lemire got cooking right now? I haven't been paying attention.
Well, I'm just saying,
outside of Black Hammer, because I got tired of Black Hammer. It was just too much world expansion, not enough actual story.
No, I mean, I don't know what he has going right now. I'm just saying I think those 2 are the top tier for me for the last few years. Lemire.
I think Tinian is really jumped up there too.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, just off Department of Truth and Nice House on the Lake alone, those are 2 of my favorites of the last year or so.
And I read the Children. Was it The Children in the Woods? You remember that shit?
I read the first Something's Killing the Children.
Yes, that shit's crazy.
I read the first one. It was quality, but it was one of those ones where it was like didn't grab me. I was like, this might not be for me. But
I immediately just dug it and dug the tone. But yeah, no, there was somebody in the comments said something interesting a while ago. They said if it wasn't for Batman, DC would be complete ass. And I was like, well, that's true, but it's not really their fault. I don't think DC ever was prepared for how big Batman was going to become.
Well, I think if they actually spent money and effort into another character like they do Batman, then maybe they'd have success everywhere. You put the right creative team, the right money on the right character with the right story, man. Like, I don't know, Zack Snyder was just not it for me. You know what I mean? I know that he had his fans, like he's got his legions of fans, but that guy just wasn't it. You know what I mean? Like that Snyder cut was just horseshit. You know what I mean? Like it was better. I'd say it was probably better than the original, but it's still like I didn't want to watch either of those. You know what I mean? Like Justice League was awful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying they hit a point in history where Batman was so obscenely profitable. Like, not just more than any other character they had, but any other character anyone had. They had to, like, Batman has a different editing team in DC. Batman has a different everything. They protect that character because that's the money. And, like,
They put the
can't,
best. They constantly put the best writers on it. You have to like reach a level of acclaim and fame to be able to even write Batman. So it's like that's why you can't fail. Like they had Tom King on him. I think what's his name? Ram V is about to be on the Detective Comics coming up right now, and like he's a rising star. So I mean, they always put whoever's hot like on Batman, and it's smart. I mean, he's their most popular. I mean, it makes sense.
And,
you know what I mean?
And that's why they can't put that whoever's hot on a different character to highlight them because, you know, they got to do Batman stuff, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, though, I mean, look at Tom King. He's gotten to that point where I think they're just like, he can do whatever he wants. So then he does like the obscure characters, the Strange Adventures, the Mr. Miracle, the, what's that one I'm really liking right now was, I don't know, whatever else he was doing was really good. So,
yeah, you can do whatever you like.
Exactly. You get to that point, and it's like, all right. And that's the thing where DC's winning. They're letting guys do whatever they like, and then Marvel, like I swear, Marvel's just like I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I guess if you're a big Don Cates fan, then maybe you're loving what Marvel's doing. But he hasn't. I don't know if he's just not my style, or if I haven't given him a full enough chance. But the stuff that I've read by Don Cates has never really just been like amazing to me. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Maybe I should give it a chance. I don't know.
Yeah.
But who else do they have over there right now? Like, I guess they got Hickman, but is Hickman even still doing X-Men? I don't even know. Like,
yeah, I think we talked about last time that like with Marvel, the books are taking the back seat to the shows, right? Yeah. They're not being experimental in the books, which is the problem.
They're spending the money on the cover artists at Marvel. Like, they'll get like the best cover artists, and then the interior art is shit, and like the writing is just whatever. Like it's just safe. I don't know. Safe. Yeah, it's very safe. I haven't been reading much though. I was reading that Moon Knight, and I got so disappointed by the Moon Knight. I was like, I'm off this. I was reading that Immortal Hulk, and that started off great and just went downhill like consistently.
I reread Brubaker's Brubaker's Fatale run. And now that I'm done with that, I'm going to start from like issue 7 of Department of Truth and get caught up, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, I've got that recent issue I haven't read. Which one is it? This issue 18 is the one I've been waiting to get in on this one. So
that's going to be fun. It's a great thing. But yeah, I got to roll too. But I appreciate the time, man.
For sure. Good.